What's going on, guys? This is Real Deal Fantasy HQ with your boy LQ back in for another great episode. In today's episode, we're talking about a potential sleeper. Jameis Winston, people. I definitely think Winston on my list to be one of the top sleepers. Everybody is talking down about him. Everybody's making jokes about the LASIK, Tyson Hill, and behind him, etc., etc. But I'm here to sway you. I'm here to get all that unnecessary mess out of the way so you can go ahead and draft Jameis Winston. So I don't want to waste any more time. So let's get right into the episode. So I don't want to spend too much time on Jameis Winston today because it should be just quick and to the point of why Jameis Winston will be a starter, will be a sleeper, will be one of the guys that will wow you to be like, wow, Jameis Winston had a good year. Now, he left us with a bad taste in our mouths, but it's not for fantasy. It's for real life football. 30 interceptions is a little obsessive, like, hey, man, you got to chill out. But for us fantasy guys, why do we care about interceptions? It really doesn't matter. It really didn't affect me because he still finished QB4 that year. So I honestly understand, the aspect of the narrative of where you're like, well, Sean Payton's not going to start Winston because he had 30 interceptions. Well, he didn't throw 30 interceptions last season. He kind of was on the bench sitting there observing and learning under Drew Brees. Now, you're probably thinking, well, Jameis Winston's name wasn't called when, Drew Brees went down, Taysom Hill was. Well, that's because Taysom Hill knew the playbook. He was a veteran there compared to Winston. Winston really didn't have a fair shot of being a starter or a potential backup, with COVID. So we didn't have a training camp. We didn't have OTAs. Well, we had a training camp, but it was very limited. But there was no preseason. So very small opportunities for Winston to learn the playbook, to get into a rhythm, to actually try to put what he learned and put it to play on the field because COVID, that's all it is. I mean, COVID, he really didn't have the great opportunity to show up and show out when his name was called. So people like to throw Taysom Hill a little winning stat out there that he went 3-1. It really doesn't matter because if we look at winning stats for winning quarterbacks, it's really just a useless stat because let's talk about it. Jared Goff, since 2017, is the second most winningest quarterback behind Tom Brady. Is Jared Goff good now? Is Jared Goff elite? Is Jared Goff this guy you have to put on the pedestal up here? No, because look where he's at now. He's in Detroit. So therefore, that stat, when people go out and try to be the forefront and now be the leading thing in their argument, doesn't faze me. It really doesn't matter because, again, let's hold that same energy. Let's have that same energy for Jared Goff amount of wins he had because the Rams never asked Jared Goff to win a game for him. We know Jared Goff had a primetime Todd Gurley when he was going off and being RB1. We know he had a top 5 defense throughout most of his career. What are we really talking about? And, hey, Sean McVay is his coach. So I really don't play in account that Jared Goff got all those wins. I don't really hold him to be the guy that, had all those wins. So let's stop putting that as a stat out there for Taysom Hill of why he's going to be the starter over Jameis Winston because I really don't see it. Jameis Winston is a quarterback. Taysom Hill doesn't even know what he's going to be week to week. He's a quarterback, tight end, kick returner, punter. I don't know. So he doesn't even know. So I definitely don't understand that. Jameis Winston left us the last time we've seen him as a starter, leading the league in passing attempts and 5,000 yards. He joins that small group of people who's thrown 5,000 yards in that, in that category. And Drew Brees did it twice. So therefore, he's going to a system where Drew Brees did it twice, where he threw 5,000 yards. So therefore, that's that. QB4, I cannot stress how many, people look over that. People look over that and be like, so what? How's that so what? The man threw 33 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. Fine. He had no running game. He had a mid-tier to low-tier defense. Bruce Arians also told him to air the ball out. So what did Jameis Winston do? Took those deep shots, aired the ball out. So therefore, I don't 100% blame Winston for all those interceptions. No way. If he threw, let's say, 12 less interceptions, which is probably average for your good quarterback. If he threw 12 less, he had, let's say, about 359, I think, to exact, points. That would have put him at 395, making him QB2 behind Lamar Jackson. If he threw 12 less interceptions. But there's that. So with Bruce Arians going out there and telling him to air the ball out, throw the ball out, no running game whatsoever. So that's why they led in pass attempts and the mediocre defense always playing from behind. So they had to throw the ball. So therefore, it's not totally on Winston. And as fantasy guys, why do we care about the interceptions? Unless you're in the Scott Fish Bowl where it's like -6, or if you're in a league where it's like -8, like something crazy about that for each interception, then fine. Stay away from Winston. He is not your guy. He is not a guy you want in your team. But for us that are in leagues where it's like -1, -2, that really doesn't matter to me because even with all those interceptions, he finished QB4. I cannot stress that enough. Now, again, he's in a system with Sean Payton's going to play to his strengths. He has a Alvin Kamara, to dump the ball off to. And it's been reported Sean Payton wants to lean on the running backs more. And we all know that wide receiver core is kind of thin, but he has Michael Thomas. So therefore, there's some hope. So I definitely think, Jameis Winston is being talked down upon just a little too much. He's definitely a sleeper for me. Super flex leagues, he could be your QB3, how late he's going. I definitely believe that, Sean Payton's going to play to Winston's strengths, but I definitely don't want to hear any more of this Taysom Hill talk of being the starter because I think Sean Payton and the rest of the Saints organization understand they can't go into the season with a Taysom Hill as a starting quarterback. So their hopes right now are to keep an eye on Winston, make sure he can learn the playbook, make sure he can execute most of the plays, if not all the plays. And I definitely think he has the leg up on Taysom Hill, being that I feel like he's the better thrower. He's more athletic, minus, the running and all that other stuff. He's able to now read defenses with the LASIK. So hopefully, that plays a part into why I think Winston will be good this year. I definitely don't understand the hate for him. He's a lot better than, a lot of these guys that are taking shots on these rookie quarterbacks. But it is what it is. But Winston is definitely going to have, a lot of people looking at him. I'm guaranteeing this is going to be a victory lap where I'm going to blast it all over the place if he ends up a top 15 quarterback. I definitely think he is in that range. I definitely think he needs to be on your roster. Not going to say at all costs because, again, you really don't need, 2 quarterbacks in a 1 quarterback league. You kind of could stream the other guy, but I definitely think Winston will be a nice late round quarterback that you could possibly just have on the bench ready to go if you do invest into, like, let's say a Josh Allen or a Kyler Murray or whatever the case may be. I definitely think Winston will be a nice little plug and play. He'll definitely be a guy that's going in, nobody's really thinking about right now, and he'll be able to show up and show out, when your guy goes down or if he's on the bye, et cetera, et cetera. So Jameis Winston, please invest in this guy. Please go get him. He is my sleeper for this 2021 fantasy football season. And hey, that's all I got for you guys. This is the episode, and I'll see you guys next week for another great episode of Real Deal Fantasy HQ with your boy LQ. Peace.